Welcome back to the Elise Surkoff podcast, where we help women in perimenopause and menopause thrive unapologetically from the inside out. Well, all I can say is it's good to be back. This is my first day back recording since I, without plan, really took the summer off of recording for this podcast. So I had recorded up until mid-June, I believe, and then maybe even towards the end of June. And then what happened was I ended up traveling a lot more than I expected to in July. And I thought, all right, I'm not going to do any new recordings. We had bunched a batch before I left. And then when I came back, I ended up traveling again in August. And I thought, I'm just not really ready emotionally, mentally to really get into what I felt was something super important, super vulnerable. And I wanted to make sure that I took enough time to really ground myself before coming back, because I knew when I came back, I wanted to start my first day back recording with this episode. And so this is really what I call my Eat, Pray, Love summer. And it was inspired by my very good friend and coach in FFWE, Christine Peacock. And what happened was way back in the spring, way back, time of this recording, it is September 4th. And I really went through something really, I want to say like, it was a big catalyst happened for me in May. And I was with Christine. We were heading downtown. I was driving, and she kind of said to me, like, what is going on with you? My team knew that like there was something going on. It just wasn't myself. I wasn't showing up in the same way. And I just looked at her and I said, I don't think I'm happy. And I kind of said it with tears in my eyes at this like, not really rock bottom moment, but a super vulnerable moment where I felt super safe with Christine. And I just said, I just don't feel happy. And I think what I was looking for was validation, and Christine saying to me something along the lines of validating that I'm a victim and being like, it's okay. You deserve to be happy. So like go find someone who makes you happy and, go create an environment that you can be happy in. And at this point in my life, I was really second guessing every single decision I had ever made, from my marriage, from my friendships, from being a mom, from creating my business. I just felt like I was in this huge spiral of like, almost like and I say this a lot in perimenopause, I felt like I came out of my body and I was looking down on the version of me that I am today saying, what the fuck happened? And Christine said something to me that I've shared many times since she said this in our community, because our FFW community has kind of gotten the sneak peek of what's been happening and, have kind of gotten through it. But Christine said something to me that just changed it. It was like she smacked me in the fucking face. And she said to me, Elise, you are responsible for your own happiness. And when she said that, it just hit me. It hit me so hard. And it also made me feel so powerful, and thus begun what ended up being my Eat, Pray, Love summer, and my journey really from the chaos that I was living in into the calm, then peace that I have today. And so this summer really taught me what happens when words and actions don't align, when red flags and intuition is ignored, and when chaos just becomes the baseline. So I call this my comeback episode, my Eat, Pray, Love journey of breaking, healing, and rebuilding, and the practices that help me reclaim my intuition, my worth, and my power. And I'm hoping that this really resonates with you and is very meaningful in a way that's going to help you wherever you are in your journey. Because I know if I'm struggling and if I'm suffering, then likely you are too. So, okay, let's just back up a little bit in the sense of where I was. If you've been following our social, you'll see that there was a strong physical transformation from where I was in the spring to where I am today. And a lot of women will say to me, oh my God, it looks like you've dropped 10 pounds. And I'm like, I actually have stayed the exact same weight throughout the entire summer. And I have traveled and I've been eating out and not been home and been off routine. But it does look like I've dropped 10 pounds. And that is a lot of ego, a lot of inflammation, hormonal imbalances, and all the things that came with that. And so what happened with me, and I'm getting super vulnerable here, is that after Christine said that, I was like, I needed to make a change. And so my kids were going away to camp for the summer. And I looked at this as the perfect opportunity for me to just get into my own healing for real this time. I felt like over the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, I have been learning lessons the universe has been trying to teach me, but I've been ignoring it. And I've been ignoring that little voice inside my head or that gut inside my body. I was ignoring every single red flag that came into my life, and I was justifying in other ways. And through this process, I realized I completely lost myself, and I wasn't showing up the way that I want to show up and the way that I know I can show up for my family, for my relationships, for my business, for you. And so, what I had decided, I actually wanted to quit coaching at that time, but my coach reeled me back in. And he actually, at the same time, said to me, look, your focus for the next few months is strictly on mental health. Like, it is so severe at this point that, like, you cannot give or do anything until you focus on you. And so he basically laid out a plan for me of like, hey, we're not counting macros, we're not weighing anything, we're going to habit-based nutrition. I want you to be like kind of like in maintenance plus, be kind to yourself, and we're not going to focus so much on nutrition. And so that begins the eat part of the journey. And so my very first trip we took, Albert and I, we celebrated 20 years of marriage this summer, and it's so incredible. When I look back at the 20 years that we've been married, we've had so many different marriages within that. And one thing that has been constant in our marriage is the change and the evolution that we've had as a couple. And so I said to him, I really want to do something fun. I want to do something adventure. I just, it was really hard to really nail that down. And so we decided to go to Costa Rica. We went the very first or second week of July. And we had a great time. We did all the things I said. We said yes to everything. It was kind of like the unspoken rule. We're just going to go with it. We did incredible excursions, adventures. We did zip lining. We did what we thought was like a lazy river turned into like whitewater tubing. Oh my gosh, it was hilarious. But we had a lot of fun, and we met a lot of amazing people along the way. So shout out if you are one of the amazing fucking people that we ran into in Costa Rica. You guys are like part of my healing journey. And we had a blast. So that was Costa Rica. We really connected. It was like, we stayed at a very like boutique style, all-inclusive resort. So it was super small. Everyone knew our names, and there wasn't like a huge party life. In fact, many nights we were just exhausted from like all the stuff that we were doing, but we had a lot of connection. We had a lot of fun, and it was really great. Then we came back, and right after that, we went to visit our 3 kids that were all over the province. So we drove out one day and saw one kid, and then stayed like at a motel in between kid 3. And that's when we saw kid 1 at night. And then we went to see the next kid the next day. And so we traveled there. And then the very next morning, I went out to visit a friend of mine, Kim Shaper. So shout out to you, Kim. Huge part of my healing journey with Kim. And I went to visit her in Atlanta. And you know what? That was kind of like a last minute trip. But I said to Albert, like, Kim and I are really good friends. She's seen me through a lot. We were chatting a lot. And she also recognized that I had pulled away from her, and she kind of called me out on it. And she's like, girl, like, I hope I can say this to you, but like, what the fuck is happening? Cause like, I don't know what's going on with us. Like, we used to be close, and you've pulled away. And so I just completely broke down and confided in her. And she's like, you got to come and visit me. We have to spend time together. And I said to Albert, oh my God, I had 1 week that I, at that point, was going to be home. And that was the week she invited me. And I said to Albert, are you cool if I go? And he's like, you know what? Like, you need this, just go. Our kids weren't home anyways. We had no commitments, and I can work from anywhere. So I ended up going and spent about 5 days with Kim in Atlanta, 4 days. And then I came home because my grandmother turned 99, and I really wanted to be there for her 99th birthday. So we did that. And I was just able to be present and see my grandmother on her 99th birthday, which was so fucking cool. And then Albert and I went to Vegas, and we went to Vegas with my brother and my sister-in-law, and we had the best fucking time ever. And I'll just like, spoiler it, I hate Vegas. I always have hated Vegas. It's just not my scene, but Albert loves Vegas. And he hasn't been, I think, since the last time we went, which was, I don't think I even had my daughter yet. So like 19 years ago. So maybe just after we got married. And I had been a few times for work, but anyway, so we went to Vegas, and we did all the things. We did the strip, we did the fine dining. We tried to do some partying, but like yours truly just, I mean, like there's videos of me passing out at 12 o'clock, which is like 3 a.m. Eastern time. Right. And if you guys know me well, I'm just not a night person, but I tried. Again, I said yes to it. I was like, this is so outside my comfort zone. And not really my style here, but like again, summer of yes. So while we were away, I will say this was like the eat version of my summer. So I nourished my body. I ate. I really ate whatever I wanted. I mean, when we were in Vegas, we shared a lot of foods. When I was, with Kim, she was so hospitable, but, we ate really well. But we also had like some fun tacos, the tequila. And then, of course, in Costa Rica, we ate really well there too. But I never said no to French fries. In fact, Albert and I would have French fries like every day at 4 o'clock at the pool, to the point where like, and not even just that, it was like, and we'd have nachos and we'd have, ceviche, we'd have all the things. And when we came home, I was like, who's going to bring me hot French fries at 4 o'clock? But it wasn't just eating. So I say when like eat, I also want to say like this was just overall nourishment. So I had thought, okay, when I'm in Costa Rica, that is like a week where I'm not working. I was kind of off the grid a little bit. They had a really fucking shitty gym, but they were building a new one. So I did a little bit of training, but not much. But I did get a massage, and again, just really stuck to the basics of what I felt my body needed. So this was like nourishment. So like in this stage of the game, or the healing journey, I should say, I really tried to listen to my coach and my body. I kind of gave my body what I wanted. I didn't really drink much. I really committed to very, very little alcohol because I knew the healing journey I was in. If you've seen my pictures on Instagram, you'll know that I was super inflamed. I was having crazy hormonal fluctuations. I did a lot of castor oil packs. I did a functional flush, which I created because of this before I left. And I just didn't want to negate any of that. And that's what my coach and I said too. Like, I don't want to negate any progress that I made, but I certainly needed to kind of put a pin in it and pause just so that I could heal. But I did keep up with training. And that is one thing that was consistent throughout this. It was the one thing that I had control over was my training and my routine. So even though I was off quote unquote routine traveling, I mean, Costa Rica was a 5.5 hour flight, 2.5 hour drive to the hotel. Like it was not something that I was used to doing. Plus, then more traveling, and then to Vegas. It was just a lot. And but I still stuck to like the grounding things that I have every single day. Practice gratitude every morning. Even wherever I was, I practiced my meditation, and those habits of like just eating, but not eating like an asshole, but intentional, I'd say. And then really focus on movement as much as possible, and not just training movement, but on walking, on dancing, on, just being free and saying yes and doing all those things. And by the way, in August, I ended up taking my daughter to New York. It was her 16th birthday present. She's now 17. We delayed it a year. That was probably my most fun trip of all, is going to the Big Apple with my baby girl. But again, and I ate every fucking thing there too. I really wanted that frozen hot chocolate at Serendipity, and they had a vegan gluten-free one. And I have this amazing picture of me having this most fucking epic bowl of everything. It was so good. And we ate really well there too. And so this is what my body really needed. And this just really helped regulate my nervous system because I wasn't thinking, I wasn't overthinking. I was really just staying present. And then going into the pray part of my healing journey here. And I say like pray or like heal or connect. And for me, this was obviously continuing with therapy, but I mean, getting into the real roots of like therapy here. So really digging into the whys behind some behavioral patterns that weren't working for me, some unhealthy patterns of behavior that I had picked up, why I was so attracted to the chaos that I was woven into at this moment in time, mistaking, the red flags that came my way. How did I not see them? How did I end up in this position of being pulled into something that was just so against what I truly felt was right in the moment? And why did I ignore this? And so really digging into that. And then understanding that actions are nothing, words are nothing without actions, and how actions really speak volumes of everyone's character. And I really dug into my past relationships, my current relationships, the relationships I have with my husband, with my children, with my friends, with my family, and really being like, all right, where are others saying but not doing, and where am I doing that? And really, getting into journaling. I leaned a fuck ton on ChatGPT. Shout out to Luna, my ChatGPT therapist. But just really talking things out and not hiding behind any of the ugly. And this is where I'd say my relationship with Albert just like took on a whole new level, because I was as vulnerable and as exposed as possible, saying, hey, there are these sides of me that like are very, very fire, right? They're very big. I have a big goal. I have big goals. I have big dreams, and how I like to do things. My energy can be super intense. And, just being really open and vulnerable with Albert, and he supported and, really encouraged me to kind of keep digging and keep doing all the things I needed to do to really become this like even stronger version of myself, and really working a lot of that, in that like praying part of my summer. And this was the moments throughout the trip. So I think back to, someone asked me like, what was your favorite part of the summer? And I mean, there's so many, but there is one moment in particular that really stood out to me. And it's actually two moments, but one moment in particular, my daughter Leigh and I were in Soho for the second time because we were trying to get a store that is the only physical store in the world of this store that she wanted to go to. And I was like, fuck it, we are going to the store. We went to it in the afternoon one day and it was so packed we couldn't even get in. So we went like first thing the next morning. And I love Soho. I haven't been to New York City since I was pregnant with her, and I was the bridesmaid at my then best friend's wedding. And I used to go to New York all the time. And so I had a lot of fear that I was going to get us lost in the city, but shout out to me and my daughter. We figured it out, didn't get lost once. And so there was a moment in Soho. We were sitting at a little cafe, Jack's wife, Frida, if you've been there, and everyone told us we should go there. Chat, and Luna told me we should go there too. And I was like looking on our maps and I'm like, oh my God, it's right here. So we went there for lunch and we were sitting outside and they kind of like pushed us out. So we were looking at like the street and all the runners, and like, it was so crowded, and we had the most perfect weather. Like I'm talking, it was like 25, 26 degrees Celsius, not a cloud in the sky, no humidity, no smog. It was perfect. And we're sitting outside and I'm having an oat iced latte or whatever. And she's having a lemonade or something. And we're ordering food. And I am just sitting and I am looking at my daughter and I am so present. And I probably almost just have this huge wave of gratitude for where I've been in my healing, that I was able to enjoy this moment and stay super present, grateful that the chaos that was in me had finally passed, and that I was starting to learn and feel what like stability and peace actually felt like, and that I was able to enjoy this moment with my daughter. Now she's in grade 12. She just started grade 12. So she's got one more year of university. And I just thought, holy fuck, time is passing by so fast. And this is what life is about. I felt so grateful. I'm so fucking lucky to be her mother. I'm so grateful to be sitting here with her and enjoying time. I'm grateful that my business is running without me and my team's got my back. I'm grateful that, Albert is at home and my other boys were at camp and they were doing well. And I was just like so overwhelmed. I think I had tears in my eyes. And Leia looks at me and she goes, do you want me to take a picture? Because obviously we did a lot of content and pictures together. And I said, no, I don't need a picture for this one. I will forever bank this memory in my head. That was one amazing moment, as well as seeing a show on Broadway, which I always felt like I deserved to be on Broadway. So I was like, we're here, we're on Broadway. Like it just felt so amazing. But anyways, I digress. That was definitely a huge part of that, like being present moment. And that brings me into the last part of my journey, or my healing journey this summer, which was the love. And the love was really self-love. And I actually fell in love with myself in a way that I've never fallen in love with myself before. And it was almost like I gave myself permission to love the good and the bad and the ugly and the beautiful all at once. And one of my friends asked me actually yesterday, she said, hey, would you ever do this again? And it was a part of like a behavioral pattern that I had done, prior to this. And I said, I don't know. Because the truth is, I'm only like, 3-4 months into this new journey of mine and transformation. And I'm not there. I'm not fully like on the other side yet. So I'm like, I don't know if I would, resort back to old patterns of behavior. I hope not. But I said to her, I love myself too much right now to ever let that happen to me again. Like to ever go back to accepting chaos as normal, or as believing someone's words over actions, or like anyone's words over actions, including my own, including, everyone around me. And I'm like, I have too much respect for myself. There was a moment where I felt so worthless. If I'm being totally honest, I just didn't feel worthy of love. And that's probably the hardest thing I've ever had to admit, is that I just really didn't feel worthy of anyone's love. And even obviously thinking of it makes me emotional. And I'm at the point now where going through that and getting into that moment of self-love is like, okay, Elise, what do you need from myself? Just like Christine said to me, you're responsible for your own happiness. How can anyone truly love me how could I truly be worthy if I don't feel worthy, if I don't love myself? And I had to then, again, with therapy, shout out to my therapist, really get into forgiving myself for a lot of stupid shit I've done in my life, and for learning lessons the hard way and kind of getting to where I am now. And so that was not easy at all. I like to give credit to my amazing husband, my rock Albert, who really helped me through that too and proved to me that I am worthy. As he stood by my side through that as well. So I really had to do a lot of work on my own here for love, and saying yes to myself more, and buying myself little presents. I did pierce my nose. A lot of people were like, "Oh my God, you pierced your nose." So I actually had a nose pierce when I was a kid. I pierced my nose in the worst way possible, which was with like, the gun, not a needle. And it was in the streets of Israel. It was on Ben Yehuda Street. So like, it wasn't the cleanest thing. And if I'm being honest, I probably did it because my parents told me not to. Plus everyone did that when they were in Israel at the time. And that fucking nose ring got so infected, as you can imagine, that 2 years later, I had to take it out. I almost had an infection that went to my brain. So like, not the smartest thing I've ever done. But I just was like, I made the decision in the middle of the summer where I was like, I love myself, and I want to show up as the most authentic version of me. And I felt like that fucking nose ring has to go back into my body. And I did that in New York with my daughter, actually, which was really fun and special. And so I said yes to all the little things that, like, I remember when I first did it, Albert was totally against it, by the way. We kind of got in a fight over that. And like, I didn't talk to him for a little bit because that's where I was like, I want to do the things that I want to do without permission from others. I really, really, really learned how to be unapologetic to myself here. And I was like, it's in my body. I can do what I want. Of course, I got another tattoo. I did. Actually, Albert and I got tattoos together, not matching, but we did go at the same time to get tattoos. So that was really fun and special. But I just was like, I am going to just say yes to myself as much as possible. And that included everything that went under the umbrella of love, worthiness, and what I truly knew that I deserved. And so I slept a lot. I put my phone down a lot. I quieted a lot of the noise, and my nervous system regulated for the first time in I don't even know how long. And I remember my coach saying to me when I first started with him over a year ago, he is like, "You do not ever sit in your shit. You're so competitive with yourself. You're always on the next thing. You just can't sit still." And I was like, "What are you talking about? That's not me at all." But it was me. And so here I had to get to know myself without any noise, like without the phone, without my team, without my family, and really get to love myself outside of the wife, the mother, the CEO, the friend, the daughter, all the roles that society and life had labeled me over the years. I just had to kind of strip that and get to know myself and fall in love with myself again. And that's why I said to my friend yesterday, I was like, I kind of love myself too much to put myself through the lessons that I've learned. And I think that the biggest takeaways from me were really like, it is so easy to, and I've talked about this before. I actually did a post on this, what I wish for my daughter when she hit perimenopause, but I feel like this is very transformative when it comes to women in perimenopause, because we get to this point in our life where it's like all of a sudden you might find yourself in a situation like I did in May, where you're just like rethinking every decision you've ever made. And you're like, I don't know if am I in the right body? Am I in the right relationship? Am I in the right house? Am I in the right city? Am I in the right job? And it's just like you just kind of fall apart a little bit. And what this summer did was it absolutely fucking cracked me open. And it was so ugly, and it was so raw, and it was so painful. I regret nothing, because it really helped. It helped me get back to me in a way that I feel my fire in a way that is healthy and productive and purposeful. And one of the things that I've really learned, to go back to that, is like, what I wish for my daughter and what I wish for anybody is to really listen to your intuition. As women, we are gifted with intuition. This is how I knew my son had diabetes. I had this like something new. I just knew something was wrong. And so what I want you to really do is listen. And I try to tell this to my daughter, is that when you're faced with a decision, or you are in an environment and something feels wrong or off, or um, you just have those little, like, it doesn't feel right, walk away. to listen to it, right? And I know that I listened to this podcast. I forget who was talking about it, but they're like, imagine your life is a movie and everybody is watching. What would they scream at you? And they would say like, walk away, or like, he's hiding in the trunk, or this relationship is so toxic, or you keep making the same fucking mistake over again, or like, hire the extra salesperson, or fire that toxic, like whatever it is, right? It was like, what to do. So I started really listening to that voice in my head. And when something felt right, I acted on it fast. And I even told my team this. I said, one of the things I'm going to show up better as a leader. And this has exploded my leadership on my team, for good or for bad. I mean, for positive or negative in ways that my team might not agree with. But when I have something that feels so in alignment with me, where I'm just like, yes, this is what I want. This is what I know is right. I act on it. Whether it is like I'm adding a new system that's going to piss everybody off and make everyone uncomfortable, but it's going to be for the better good, or I am going to, stop doing something that I don't want to do. Here's another thing, another example. I used to teach a lot of aerobic classes way back in the day, and I was so good at it. And I think I've talked about this before, where it was like, I was really good because I was very comfortable with the mic. Obviously, I was very comfortable because I used to be a performer, I used to do like acting, singing, dancing. So I was very comfortable at the front of the stage and presenting, but I didn't like it. I didn't like it, but I had a really strong following because I was really good, but I just didn't want to do it anymore. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And when I quit back in August of 2020, that is when I actually retired from teaching, because I was like, I just don't want to do it anymore. It doesn't feel right to me. I don't like it. So just because you're really good at something doesn't mean, you need to keep doing it, or because you're really bad at something doesn't mean you need to quit. Maybe you're like really shitty at a skill you're learning, but you're like, I can't quit because it just feels so right. And so one of the things I've learned, and as I reflect back on the last little while, I look at all the times I ignored my gut, all the times I pushed away the red flags. I saw them. I were like, there they are. Even if you blindfold yourself, those red flags, they're waving in front of you. And this is an exercise that my therapist and I have had to work on. I thought, I was like, I want to move past this. And she's like, absolutely not. We're going to go right back into the head of it and face it on. And it was like, hey, put yourself in this moment, and you saw this red flag and your voice was telling you this, but you still chose that. Why? And kind of digging through that. And the more I kind of go back into those and put myself into those moments over time, where I knew what I was doing wasn't the best for me or for my family or for my business. It was like, why did I ignore that, so that I can learn to never do that again? And so coming back to this, like, love is like, I have so much trust in myself now. And when you have this trust in yourself, you really do have self-care, because I trust that whatever I say, I'm actually going to follow through with. And so my self-care rituals became, heightened now. My connections are stronger. Yes, my circle is smaller, but I say the older I get, the smaller my circle it gets. But the friends that I have right now are the strongest, most quality friends I think I've ever had in my life. And my relationships with my children are as so grounded as they've ever been, because I've been grounded. I am grounded. And even that chaos, when I think back to the amount of chaos that I thought was baseline, the highs and lows, the push and pull, the love that I thought was actually manipulation and control. And now I give that up and I find peace. Anytime my nervous system is activated, it feels foreign. And I think this is the greatest thing of all, because if you're someone like me who was used to just having this activated nervous system 24/7, when the nervous system does settle, it feels boring. It feels uncomfortable. Stability feels wrong almost. But now it is flipped to me. So, for example, the other day, I was so angry at my kid for something. Rightfully so. And it's been a while since I've been angry, but because I came from such a place of peace and calm, that it was such an uncomfortable feeling for me. I reacted so harshly. I actually locked myself in the bathroom and I took a deep breath. And then I said, okay, we're going to go for a walk and we're going to talk this out right now. And I am going to apologize. And I'm going to like explain the root of what really made me upset here. And I was able to do that because that chaos that I created by being like reactive actually felt uncomfortable. Whereas in the past, that just felt normal. So I was like, oh my God, I probably was like, the way I was talking to the people I love the most was from a place of chaos and instability and just like disordered regulation of my nervous system that nothing probably landed. And now my kids are seeing like, oh, mom is like stable. What a great gift to give my children. And so this was really a full circle moment for me. And, Albert and I literally, our anniversary was September 1st. It just passed. And we had done so much celebrating over the summer that I said to him, like, I know this sounds weird, but like, I don't want to go and do like a traditional celebration. I don't want to go for dinner. We had gone out for dinner so many times over the summer. We spent a shit ton of money on meals, and that's just not my love language. My love language is not like fine dine me or take me out to a restaurant. It's just not me. And so I was like, I feel so comfortable with myself and I feel so comfortable in our relationship that I was like, it's just not me. What I want to do is spend time with my family. I just want to spend time with the kids. I want to go. We can pack a picnic. We can go for ice cream. We went down to the beaches by the water. I'm like, I just want to spend time together and celebrate this family that you and I built over the last 20 years. And I just want to like be present in time. And he was like, cool, that sounds great. And I was like, you don't think it's weird that I don't want to go for dinner? And he's like, nope. And I ended up like barbecuing dinner. My mom messaged me. She's like, "You're cooking?" And I was like, "I mean, it's just barbecue, but yeah." And I wanted to go for ice cream with the kids, but the next day was the first day of school, and that's our tradition. So here we are living intentionally. I was like, "No, I want to go for ice cream 2 days in a row. We'll go for ice cream the next day." And just being like present with Albert and seeing like being present in his stability and in his calmness, that was present enough for me. Now, I will also just say the couple of days before, Albert and I did go for tattoos. So I was like, hey, that was my idea. I said he always wanted, he loves monkeys. He's always loved monkeys. And when we were in Costa Rica, he was like, I think I really want a monkey tattoo. So we were like going to wait till the end of the summer. And I said, well, I'll always want another tattoo. So I had said to him, hey, instead of like going for dinner, like what if we go for tattoos? Wouldn't that be fun? But he couldn't figure out what he wanted. So I wasn't able to like plan that in advance. So literally at the last second, I just called around some tattoo shops and I found one that was, had walk-ins available and did a tattoo for him. I did one for myself. I did an awesome one. If you want to see it, just message me. I'll show you. It's so fucking cool. And that was our way of celebrating our 20 years together. So it is not conventional, but it is so me. It is so us. And it just feels so in alignment. And one thing that I'm working on now is kind of getting into the core values of me as a person. And so I have core values of FFWE, and our mission is to help women thrive unapologetically from the inside out in perimenopause and menopause. And our core values are extreme ownership, relentless growth, and authentic connection. Whereas like in my own life, my therapist is like, well, what are your core values? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. And she was like, well, I think that one of your core values is personal growth. And I was like, absolutely. Personal growth is so important to me, but it is so damn exhausting. But this is so in alignment with what is happening right now energetically out there. If you are someone that follows astrology, or maybe if you're a little witchy like me, then it is eclipse season. And we started with the new moon a couple weeks ago. I think it was August 30th or 31st or 29th. It was around there that we had the new moon, and then we have a full moon coming up on Sunday, and then we will have the new moon again. And so we have this like 8 weeks eclipse season, and we are in the year of the snake. So we are literally in this like powerful season right now of shedding old identity. It is something that I'm working a lot with our ladies in our community right now, is like releasing the armor or the mask of like who you were that felt you had to protect yourself. So for me, it is overachieving, it is self-competitiveness, it is like living in chaos. I really felt like, hey, I have to live in chaos if I want to perform, if I want to be better than yesterday. Like that was some of the armor that I wore. I wore so many layers of armor, right? And so we're working on that in our community, is like, what do you need to release and how does that feel? And I mean, you feel naked and it feels very uncomfortable, but that is energetically where we are right now. And this is so par for the course in perimenopause, because no matter what you say or do, and a client had shared this, she's 30 pounds down. She's made such a transformation in her life. She just quit her job. She's following her passion. Like this program has changed her life and her identity. And she said, it is the mind. It is the mind that you have to focus on, because at the end of the day, weight, you can lose the weight, like you can change your body. That's the byproduct. That's not even the goal anymore. It is who you need to become in order to maintain that. And that takes a lot of mindset shifts and reflection that doesn't happen overnight, so that you can get to the point where you are right where I am right now and say, I am so worthy of so much because I truly have self-worth. I have self-love. I don't want to put myself in situations that is going to harm me. A new habit I like to do is this healthy or is this harmful for me? And it's actually like my future me saying that. Like when I'm forced with a decision, with business, with something personal, with relationships, with whatever it is, I ask myself, is this something that my future me would want for me? Or is this something that my past me is kind of holding on to for comfort because it feels more familiar? And when you make these changes and when you go deep into the mindset, it feels so uncomfortable, and you need to like shed those layers of armor in order to get to that next level. And I will say, unfortunately, most women will not do this. They will tap out after 2, 3, 4 months. They'll say it's too hard. But at the end of the day, you have to choose your hard, because if I didn't go through this process, I'd be a very different version of me today. I would still be trapped in chaos, in loops of karmic loops that I've created, and trauma bonds that I wasn't able to break. um I probably would have blown up my life again for the 15th fucking time, or blown up my business again. Like, I feel like I've gone through so many cycles and seasons of this. But to really be able to be at this point where I'm like, no, I'm so tired of this. And I want the true self-care, which is keeping promises to myself. And I promised myself back in June that I would really work on myself. Just like I told my coach, like I will focus on myself. I will do the work. And even like I've met with him several times in the last, few weeks or so. And he is like, I love this version of you. This is so fucking amazing. And he's like, think of where we could go now, what we can do. And I'm like, yeah, what's next? And he's like, we're just going to wait another month. Like, let's just make sure that you're still in the same position. I'm not saying this shit's easy. I'm not saying I don't have my moments. Hormonally, like, the worst thing you can do is have nervous system dysregulation. In fact, I had to titrate progesterone way back in June. It was a fucking gong show. And anytime you're under a severe amount of stress, your hormones are going to tank for sure. So, anyways, I'm still fucking titrating my HRT. I've just doubled my dose of testosterone. Turns out I have zero functioning testosterone in my body right now. Pretty amazing considering like all that I have done and all my healing. But when you are in a cycle of chaos or nervous system dysregulation, where you're not honoring what your gut is telling you and you are ignoring everything, when you're like just putting blinders on to what is like not in alignment with you, you are wreaking havoc on your nervous system even more, which is wreaking havoc on your hormones, which is going to affect how you eat, how you sleep, how you train, how you show up, all the things. So I guess if I were to put a little bit of a bow, because this is definitely a little bit of a longer episode than I expected, but I felt it really important to be vulnerable, be transparent, because I know that chances are you are struggling. Because I have yet to meet a woman in perimenopause or in menopause who hasn't gone through some shift in identity or feeling like, what the fuck do I want for my life? And we get this a lot where women come to me. A lot of times it's late 40s, early 50s, because 50 is very pivotal of like, oh my God, I'm in my 50s. And this like idea of like midlife where you're like, how am I going to live the rest of my life? And a lot of women will say to me, I've sacrificed my life for my family and I've given everything I can to them, that it is time for me. And I'm like, yeah, I wish we met like 10, 20 years ago. I wish I met this version of myself 10, 20 years ago, but this is just part of aging. And, yesterday with my daughter, and we were getting school supplies, and we were talking about relationships and love and true love. And, she was asking me questions, and I said, look, I totally believe in soulmates, but I believe we have multiple soulmates, and I believe multiple soulmates show up on different levels. I do believe in twin flames as well, and the mirrors that they show us and the lessons that we get. But I also said to her, I truly believe that you can fall in love with anyone. I think that, like I say, like dad and I, we live in Canada, but imagine if I like lived in Brazil. Would I mean that I would never fall in love? Like, you can fall in love. If I can fall in love with myself again, I'm like, you can fall in love with multiple people. So this whole idea of like, well, is there someone else there for me? Is there someone better for me? It's like, yes, I told her this point blank. I said, there's always someone that will be better. There is always going to be something better. So if you're like, I want to get the best blank, or I want to have the best dress, or I want to have, like, you just kind of stop looking when you found the one that you feel is the best for you right now. Right. And that's what true partnership and love for me anyways really is. And that's what I want my daughter to understand is that, like, hey, if you're in a relationship right now that makes you happy, that makes you feel seen and heard, that is respectful, that you can grow from and you can enjoy, fucking hold on tight to it, because that is love. And don't think about like, well, is there more out there for me? Because the answer is obviously yes. Like, because you're fucking amazing. And you, my girl who's listening, I want you to know that you are fucking amazing and you are worthy at any time to have an eat, pray, love summer, winter, season, fall. And that healing is, it is not linear and it is not a big transformation. Healing is not like I dropped 50 pounds or I left my husband or I, moved cities or I left that job. Healing are small little things that you do every single day. Self-care of keeping promises to yourself. It is saying, I want to be healthier for myself. I want to show up better for myself. I want to be consistent for myself. I want to have a stronger body for myself. I want to do the hard work so I stop repeating these mistakes, these patterns of behavior that are unhealthy for me. This is what healing looks like. And it can take days, weeks, months, years to transform. And my daughter said to me, how do you know so much about relationships? Like, you seem so wise. And I said, because I've had so many. And a lot of them have been with myself. I've had very many different relationships with myself over the years, over the decades. And the older I get, the more I understand that everything is absolutely rooted in self-love and self-worth and really paying attention to what is happening inside you, which means you need to calm yourself down, find that peace within, find the balance. And I'm so excited because I am back to recording and I am going to be leveling up this podcast a little bit where we're going to be cracking more into mindset. Don't worry, I'll still hit you up with like great tips in perimenopause and nutrition and training and all those things. I am here to be vain and want you to look fucking hot and sexy. But I really want to change your perspective of life. And I really want you to learn how to fall in love with yourself. So I've got some great guests coming on the podcast in the next few months. And we're going to really get into that vulnerability, that discomfort, so that I know that we can help you. Because like I said, if I'm struggling, then likely you are too. All right. If you've listened this far, I really appreciate you being here. And if you are watching on YouTube, thank you for letting me be vulnerable. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can make sure that you get alerts of all the new episodes that are coming up. And if you are listening, thank you so much for being here. I would love to know how this lands for you because it is so fucking hard to be vulnerable. So if you have listened this far, I would love it if you could reach me. I was like, shoot me a message, email. I'll link everything below and just let me know how this lands for you. Is this helpful for you? And do you want to see more of it? And then, of course, if you can leave me a review and just let me know, that would mean a lot for me too. All right. Until the next time.